Oh, glory. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all for coming. First of all, we've got Bobby, our town assessor. Thank you, Bobby, for joining us.
No problem.
We just wanted you to tell us what's happening in the world of assessing. Anything you think we ought to know. I did have a question about the assessed valuation did go up for the town, and I was curious about that. So anything you can tell us would be appreciated, and others may have questions. So.
Okay. Well, the assessed valuation went up quite a bit because years ago, and I say years ago, between 2016 and when I started, there was legislation that the fiber optics were not taxable. So in Rule Section 5, which the state gives us the values for, all those values were taken out. Well, then it was like the next year or 2 years after that, they went all through the court system and said, yes, they are taxable. And the prior assessor neglected to put those values on. So we increased the roll last year by, I don't know, I think it was over $1 million. And I called the county and I said, well, how did she not do that? And they just said, well, we pretty much begged her and nagged her and begged her, and then figured, well, they're going up, so we're not going to have court cases. So, but I'm like, but it was in the county's best interest too, because it raised the county value by $1 million. So pretty much we caught up on stuff that wasn't done prior to me coming along. So
Okay.
you should have had that value years ago.
So what else is happening in the town in terms of building permits and anything else?
I've been getting the permits, and as I get them, if I have questions, I get a hold of either the village or Jan, and straighten them out and go from there. We're getting a lot of, well, my taxes are too high, but that, goes with the business.
Right.
So, but yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you guys knew about the governor passed an executive order this year with the aged exemption that they did not have to renew it. And at first, when they passed it, they said they had to have a local whatever. And I talked to Jan about that. And it was like 2 weeks later, they're always, behind the ball when it comes to stuff like that. But they did pass, an executive order stating that there didn't have to be a local law. Basically, it's up to the assessor. If I know something's changed, if somebody's deceased, moved away or something like that, then we can adjust it. Or if they do apply and it goes down. So if they get more monies, but if they apply and they made more money last year than they did the year before, we don't do anything with them. And that's the aged exemption's the one that's on the sliding scale. So
Right.
The less you make, the more you get off your tax bill. And the reason they did that was because of COVID and the age requirement. You had to be 65 years old. So to prevent everybody having to come into the office. So.
And that's what we passed. We passed that last month, I think, but I guess
Yep.
now it's
Yep. And then come to find out you didn't have to, because the governor said, well, we're going to, because I mean, he dropped the hat, right at the last minute, and it was kind of hard for everybody to get, everything passed. So, but it didn't hurt to do it, I guess.
Right. Okay. Board members, any questions for Bobby? So you've got everything you need computer-wise and
Yep.
office-wise and so forth?
Yep. Things have been going pretty smoothly.
Does the big change in the fiber assessment have any impact on our overall, I can't know what the term is, but the rate, the 85% or whatever we're at now?
Not really, because that's based on sales. So
Okay.
Yeah, we've got to work on the data and get a reval, but even that's been kind of on a standstill too, because with COVID, you can't very well go knocking on people's doors and saying, hey, I've got you as 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's kind of on hold across the entire state.
Okay.
And what's been happening in the town in terms of sale prices? I mean, have they been strong, weak, or
Oh,
anything you
yeah.
can tell us?
They're going up. They're going up. Your land sales are through the roof, and yeah. And I mean, I monitor the sales too. And if something, I mean, the listings, but if something does sell, I'll go see if there was a listing on it and, you know, snag the pictures and make sure my data's right. And then I send the taxpayer out a data mailer and it tells them how to apply for the star. And then they have the opportunity to say, no, I don't have 2 bedrooms. I've only got 1, you know, and all that fun stuff.
Right.
So I've been trying to clean up the data in that sense, but short of, you know, going out to every door and knocking on doors, it's, you know,
Right.
to do. I can take a picture from the road, but that doesn't help the data that we have, you know.
Okay. Any other comments from anyone for Bobby? Okay, Bobby. Well, thank you very much. Keep up the good work. Thanks for zooming in. You can stay as long as you want.
All righty. You guys have a good night. This was an
Okay.
easy transit.
Okay, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Have a good night.
Next on guest, we have Mark Meyerhofer, who is from Spectrum Charter, right? Mark, are you there? There you are.
Yeah, hi, Town Supervisor. Yeah, Mark Meyerhofer, Senior Director for Government Affairs and for Charter Communications, otherwise known as Spectrum.
So what can you tell us?
Well, when I sent the franchise agreement to the town clerk, that's basically what I was assuming was tonight for you wanted me to join. So the franchise agreement that we have with the town expires in April. So I wanted to, just touch base with the town board, sent a document for review. One of the things that stands out with yours in particular is you don't have a franchise fee. And, that's up to you. You can continue to stay at 0%. Under the FCC guidelines, you can go up to 5% if you like. That does go on customer bills, those that get our TV service in the town of Alfred. So, you got to keep that in mind that if you do want to do that for another revenue stream, that would impact obviously town residents that are our Spectrum customers that receive our TV service. But we just done some updating to the franchise agreement, some of the things just to conform with current state law and regulations. It's the same length of term. This one is 15 years. The one that we're proposing is also 15 years. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
So just for discussion purposes, if we had a 5% franchise tax, what kind of revenue would that be roughly?
Yeah, actually I figured that would come up. Let me just grab my notes here. So I was just looking at some other towns that have similar subscribers. Your current subscribers are around 115. So for every 100, it's about 7,000 per year. That's at the 5% level. So again, that's based on what other towns are at. So if you want to go 2.5%, obviously, then that's 3,500 per year. But just to give you kind of a sense ballpark of what that looks like. Yeah.
And what other towns have a franchise fee around here? Can you tell us that?
Not off the top of my head. I can pull up a chart if you give me a minute here.
That's not critical.
County. I mean, for the most part, you're looking at, I would say probably in the range of 60 to 70% of towns in Western New York, whether it's, Allegheny, Steuben, Cattaraugus are at the, 5% level. There's not that many that are still at 0%. It's probably 10, 15% or so. But, I can pull up Allegheny County here and just take a quick look for you.
While you're doing that, let me ask you another question. It's really not your company, but I'm just curious. We've got 2 other providers of internet, which is Armstrong and Frontier. and neither of them have ever approached us with a non-exclusive franchise agreement, and I'm wondering why that is.
Yeah, again, under state law, we're not allowed to have an exclusive contract with anyone. So other entities can come in. I mean, Armstrong is becoming a pretty good, force, I would say, in the southern tier. I mean, especially given the state broadband grant funding they received. I know they've also received from some RDOF money. That's the newest one from the federal government, the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. So certainly Armstrong continues to get a bigger footprint in the southern tier. Unfortunately, I can't answer a question as to why Armstrong wouldn't want to get into the TV business other than, the cost, because the reason that there's a cable franchise to begin with is because that's required under state law when you're providing a cable TV service. So, it's a bit antiquated because people kind of look at the Armstrong or Frontier, or even us these days, right, as, for internet. But, there's now, as you said, there's now 3 providers. We're the only one providing TV service. So my sense is that they probably just don't have the critical mass, if you will, of customers to be able to make a successful venture in bringing a TV product to their customers. But again, that's speculation on my part. It's you have to become quite a big critical mass, I think, to be able to afford to carry the channels, and because we pay fees to all the companies that to provide those TV services and all that. So that's my guess.
So you're required, because you provide TV service by the state, to have a franchise agreement of some kind, right?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? But now,
Right.
like Armstrong, they provide internet. So if I want to stream TV on the internet, they're not required to have a franchise.
Yeah, see, that's the strange thing, right? I mean, now people are looking at that, and even our fiber service that we start to have in some areas is kind of similar. I mean, a lot of people that get that, we don't even, on our fiber system, you don't even get an old-fashioned cable box anymore. It's just all through that. It's through the air, in essence, right? It's all Wi-Fi. It's through your modem. So people are obviously everyone's habits are starting to change in how they view TV. So it almost makes you wonder how much longer, state governments and the federal government are going to continue with this cable franchising model that's kind of out of date. When everyone can come in and just get their TV services over the internet, and
Right.
You don't need the cable box anymore in some cases.
Right.
So.
I'm curious. The franchise or the tax, can that only be changed when these agreements are renewed, like the 15-year interval?
That's correct. I mean, we can put provisions in there. We've done it before where, it's incremental. In year 5, it'll raise, let's say you start at 2.5%. I could talk to our legal department about this just to make sure. But, we might be able to put something in place where you can start at 2.5%, and then in year 5 or year 7, it goes to 5%. I've seen other ones where they state that if at a certain time we want to raise the franchise fee, we can, as long as you have a public hearing, right? That's always the biggest question, is you don't, it's really to protect yourselves and obviously in full disclosure to the public. So if you were to impose one at a later date, we would put language in that says, you have the ability to raise this prior to the end of the 15-year term, provided you have a public hearing and, we file the proper paperwork with the PSC and, public notices and that sort of thing. So it is possible. Long story short, it is possible to change it during the 15-year term. And we could certainly put language in the franchise agreement that speaks to that. And while I have the floor here, I am looking at, I just pulled up the list that came up. Actually, the Village of Alfred does not have a franchise fee. Almond, both the town and village, and then Amity's at 5, Andover. Another one that's 0 is Angelica. Actually got quite a few, more than I expected in Allegheny. So yeah, I haven't looked at the county in a while in this perspective. So Bolivar, both the town and village, Burns. So it almost looks like, if I were to account here, it might actually be closer to 50% of the ones that we have a franchise agreement with in Allegheny that actually do not have a franchise fee. So it
Okay.
turns out Allegheny County, you're not in the minority, you're probably at the halfway mark,
Okay.
just so you know. Yeah.
Are there questions from the board for Mark? Well, I guess we'll have to discuss this and make a decision before April. We appreciate you coming on, Mark. And if there are no other questions, we'll go on. You're welcome to stay as long as you wish.
Good. Well, just procedurally before I go, Town Supervisor, procedurally, once you get to a point where we've come to an agreement, you will need to hold a public hearing, and by Zoom is fine. That's allowed under the PSC regulations, of course, especially during the pandemic, and then pass a resolution. I can certainly get the sample of each to the town clerk, so you could use that. But I just wanted to forewarn you, you're going to need to do that and put a public notice up and all that.
Okay, good. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Okay.
Anything else for Mark? Okay, Mark, thanks a lot.
All right, you're welcome. Have a good night.
You too. Okay, we've got the minutes. Everybody got those electronically? Any additions or corrections? If not,
I had one.
Yeah, go.
I had a bit of confusion. It sounded like the surveys on the police reform committee with the village, sounded like the surveys were being sent to the state, and that's certainly not the case. The surveys gathered information that gets put into the plan that's due to the state in April.
Okay, any other additions, corrections? Motion to approve as corrected?
So moved.
Thank you, Matthew. Second.
I'll second it, Dan.
Thanks, Bill. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you. Police report, you all got an electronic copy of that. It seemed to be fairly routine. Any comments on that? Okay. Code officers report, you got a copy of that. Take a quick look here. Special use process, special use permit is in process for Ray Palmer. I'll just update everybody on this. So the ZBA is in charge of issuing a special use permit that's required for mining operation. The mining operation is a permitted use in the ag district. We have sent a letter to Mr. Palmer indicating the requirements. In addition to a public hearing, prior to that, he has to complete a seeker. There are bonding requirements required by the town. And there's also the ability of the ZBA to impose various remediation issues like site remediation, plant trees to provide a barrier and so on and so forth. So he's been made aware of that. And so his application will not be complete until he has addressed those issues. And so we'll have to wait until his application is complete. So I'll keep you apprised as it goes forward. Any comments?
That's our process. Goodness.
Right.
That's our process, but is there not a state process as well?
There's a state
permit
process.
as well?
If he mines more than 1,000 tons a year, then he's subject to DEC. He says that he won't. That remains to be seen. But at this point, he falls under our zoning. And the seeker is imposed by the state. So that is a
Right,
state
certainly.
decision, right? Okay, going on with the code report. Schellings want to remove and move the garage. We're going to talk about the tower again in executive session, so we'll skip that. And James Beeler's applied for a permit for a retail store on County Road 12. Any comments about the code report? Okay. Monthly report. Jan, anything to comment on?
No, just you can see that all the tax levy has been collected, so we're in good shape.
We're still early in the year, so
Yes.
all the lines
We
look
got a
good.
long way to go, but yeah, right now we're good.
Okay, good.
Was there any explanation for why fines were so high?
Part of that is the traffic diversion, which comes from the county. And what that is the judge gives them the option of going to this class. And then if they go to the class and they pay for it, and it's called traffic diversion, then they get their tickets dismissed, I believe. And then they don't have to pay a fine. They just pay for the cost of that traffic, and then that money comes back to the town.
Okay, that
That's
makes
the
sense
most-
then.
Yeah, because the courts, even though the courts are closed, they're still collecting money for tickets that have been issued. So.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Good. Any other comments for Jan? Okay, correspondence. Did we have anything, Jan?
I think the only things you have are what you're going to be talking about throughout the meeting.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the general abstracts. You've all got a copy of that. And it looks fairly routine. Any comments? In fact, the number is pretty low, so that's a good thing. Okay, is there a motion to pay these bills?
I'll make a motion, Dan.
Thanks, Bill. Second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, all right, great. And town highway abstracts, slightly bigger number.
Looks like the manifold repair came in under budget though.
Yeah, the big expense there is the payment on the grader.
Right. By by a long shot, but we knew that. We budgeted for that.
Thank goodness somebody caught it.
Yeah, Wendy, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, pretty standard. One big repair. Salt and sand. Payment. Okay, motion to pay these bills if there are no questions.
So
moved.
moved. And second.
Okay, we got Wendy and second by Matthew. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you all. Okay, highway report. Bob,
Yes, sir.
go.
We took the Sterling over to Sunny's to get the manifold fixed because it broke. Changed the oil in the pickup, put new cutting edge on the 14 Mac, worked on the mower for the excavator, put cutting edge on the 5500, fixed the radiator hose on the 2010 Mac, put new shoes, plow shoes on the 14 Mac, washed bay doors. We've been plowing and sanding and hauled salt, sand, and filled potholes. Down at the bottom there, John Deere sent me a link or an email saying that our grader is to do for new software. Right now, our grader is on 3G. They want to go to 4G. What this does is if I have a problem with it, I can call John Deere and they can link into it to help me figure out what the problem is. It's going to cost between probably $500 to $600. That's a rough estimate, but it covers up to 3 years. So
So you're recommending we do that?
I would say yes, especially if we're gonna keep the machine for a period of time, I would do it. Because it does work, because last year I had a little glitch with it. I got on the phone with them. They can see how many hours are on it. They can see what everything, how the machine is running. They can look right there without coming down.
And that's a one-time cost, Bob, and then it's good for 3 years.
Yes, one-time cost and good for 3 years.
Okay.
So
That
you
can
don't
pretty
need
much
our
just,
approval to go forward with that, right?
Right. I was just letting you guys know what was going on with it. So
Yeah, that seems like a good idea.
But after 3 years, you gotta re-up it, Bob?
as right now, yes, every 3 years.
So is there anything happening in the legislature that you know of, Bob, on this right to repair concept?
Not that I know of. That's the first I heard of it, Dan.
Because like John Deere and Caterpillar, they have an exclusive access to the software. So
Right.
like if you take your car to the dealer to down here to Sean Perkins, you can put his scanner on it and find out what the problem is. But you can't do that with a John Deere or Cat product.
No.
And so there's this legislation they're trying to move across the country in all the states, right to repair. So it breaks the stranglehold that the manufacturers have on the software.
Gotcha.
But I haven't heard anything about it.
I have not needed. It's the first that I heard it, Dan.
yeah, it's a lot bigger out in the Midwest right now, where there's more large farmers.
Yeah. There was something a couple of years ago in one of our Association of Town updates that mentioned it was brought forward in the legislature in Albany, but that's the last I heard of it.
The lobbyists got a hold of it.
I
Didn't
think
affect
you're
New
right.
York City.
Got buried.
Yeah.
Any questions for Bob? All the equipment's working pretty well, Bob, at this
Yep.
point?
Yep. So far, we got everything up and going. So, Dan, I got the price quote for the trade-in for the pickup.
Yep.
It's between 3,000 and 4,000 this year for the pickup for the trade-in. It'll probably be right around the 3,000 price. He's just quoted it that way because for some reason they go into the link. It's trying to put the truck on. It's trying to put the truck on their lot, so which raises the price, and he doesn't know why it's doing that. So he's thinking it's going to be right around the $3,000 mark.
What was it last year, Bob?
35.
3,500.
And how
Good.
much did we budget?
I think you budget the 4.
Cool.
Yes, yeah, we budgeted for.
Great.
So do you need a resolution on this at this time, or are we waiting till we get a
Well,
number?
If we can pass this, then I can go down and pretty much pre-order it, and then he'll give me the price. But it's going to be he's pretty much going to be, he thinks towards that 3,000.
And we budgeted 4?
Yeah.
Maybe we pass a resolution to spend up to 4,000 on the trade-in. Would that make sense?
That's what I would probably do.
Up two, you're right.
Yeah. That makes sense to everyone?
Yeah, may as well. We don't need a hiccup.
Did he confirm the plow frame will swap over, Bob, without any problems?
As right now, yes, unless Dodge does something like between 3 months, because it's going to take like 3 months to get the truck.
Okay.
Okay,
That-
go ahead.
I would say that just changed last year, right? So it should be same
Should
for a
be
couple
good.
years.
Correct.
Should be.
So how about I move that we authorize Bob to spend up to 4,000 on the trade-in?
I'll second that. Jan?
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, good. You should be good to go, Bob.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, sticking with highway, we have this intermunicipal agreement that you all should have in your packet. And we do this every year, right, Jan?
Mhm.
Dan, yes, we got to do this every year.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was
Dan's
on
muted.
yes, every year.
yeah.
And you all will, I believe you all will have to come in and sign it.
Okay. Well, we can pass the resolution now, right, and sign it.
Yep.
Okay. So is there a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Thanks, Matthew. I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? All right. I think that takes care of highway stuff.
When can we come in and sign that? When's it available?
Whenever I'm here,
Well, okay.
I'll have it here.
Okay, supervisors report. So first thing I have is the software. Jan, you want to bring us up to date on the software situation?
Yes, you got the quote from Williamson.
Mhm.
It was much higher than I anticipated. I guess I didn't know what to expect, but I guess I wasn't expecting that much. As you can see, it was almost $9,000 for just the accounting software. And then the annual support was another almost 1,500. And then if you add the payroll on, it's another almost 5,000. So for that kind of money, you probably could hire somebody to do it. Or
Oh, wow.
contracting
Yeah,
out.
Dan, I looked at the, somehow I glazed over the $8,800.
I wondered why you thought it was wasn't a bad deal, Ian, but I thought,
Wow.
well, he knows more than I do, so.
No, I saw the 1495 and thought, okay,
Ah, that
that's-
would have been good if we could have done it for that.
no, that's a little out of,
So, in the
Okay.
meantime, as you all know, the auditor is here and I showed this to him and asked him about it. And he thought that seemed kind of high. And then I asked him, I said, do we have to bid this because of the cost? And he said, yeah, if your procurement policy says so, which it does, it says anything over, I believe, 2,000. So we can't accept this anyway, because now we need to bid it. I think we can do quotes instead of bids since it's such a specialized thing. So I'm in the process of trying to at least get 3 quotes, just so you have something to compare it with. Obviously, this price range is, kind of out of the ballpark. And
So
again,
Jan,
so
are we currently just using QuickBooks with an annual subscription, or what are our current costs?
we have no cost. Our QuickBooks version is so old that we don't pay anything for
Oh,
it.
it's not even a current version.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that you're gonna need to do something. Either
Yeah.
upgrade the QuickBooks into a more current version, or look at a true municipal software package.
Is it just a regular QuickBooks Pro, like
Yes,
just a
from,
regular QuickBooks desktop?
it's like from 2004, maybe?
Oh my goodness, we need to update.
It still works.
QuickBooks is not that expensive. We need to update.
Yeah,
It's not even stable anymore.
but I mean, it's still working and doing, so, yeah, but I just knew that with me looking at retiring and you having to bring someone new, now would be the time to look at doing something different and making it easier for the next person. So that's why I took it upon myself to get the quote. I spent over probably an hour and a half with Williamson reviewing the program online. And I mean, it's a great program. It's, it's great, but it's very expensive. So I have contacted one other company that does New York State municipal bookkeeping, and they're preparing a quote for me. And as soon as I get it, I will forward it to you. And I really don't have a third company at this point, so I'm going to contact some of the other towns and see who they use and see if they can hook me up with their salesperson. And go from there. So that's the deal on that.
Okay, good. Thanks, Jan. Any comments for Jan?
Can you do shared services with something like that? I mean, if a town has a program, can you divide it? Like,
Most of
trying-
them, they charge a user's fee, so I think you'd still be paying. Because I know this one says that this is only support for one workstation.
okay,
And then you have to add each 350 for each additional workstation, but that's just the support. So I don't know. And I mean, if you did that, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
it's because
It'd be worth asking.
if you had a municipality that was large, say 10 or 20,000 people in a town or something like that, maybe it would be an okay deal. But I mean, are they charged by the population? They charge by the particular municipality? You know what I'm trying to say?
No, I think this would be the cost for one workstation for any town. Obviously, other towns are gonna have more workstations if they have more people in their accounting department. So they're gonna pay an additional fee on top of this for the support.
Oh, okay, all right.
Do we know what the village uses?
I don't know what she uses. I can find out though. Well, she's not available. Jimmy, do you know?
Mhm.
He said no.
You're muted, Jim.
No, I don't. I haven't heard about it yet.
Okay, any other comments for Jan? So we'll wait until you are able to get some more options for us and go from there.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll get a quote for upgrading QuickBooks also, for a newer version of QuickBooks.
Yeah, that should only be like $100 or $200 a year to stay on the current version.
So that's something we can look at.
Okay. Next thing I have is, as you know, last month, Bill Dibble attended our meeting and wanted to get the town support for this potential project of running a sewer line between Almond and the village. And I guess, I don't know what he wanted. I don't know if it requires a resolution or just a show of support. How does everyone feel about that? Is that something we want to throw our support behind?
I think it makes sense to support it in as much as it goes through our property.
Yeah, I would agree. At this point, it's good, I think, for us to support it and see where the next steps take it.
Well, I don't know whether he just wanted, Jan, do you know what he wanted? I don't recall exactly if he wanted a resolution or just a show of support.
I guess he just is looking for a show of support at this point. I mean, they still need to get grants and stuff. If they're a long ways from
Right.
doing anything, I believe. Jim, do you know any more about it? I mean, they've got a ways to
Well,
go, right?
Yeah, I'm working with Bill on that, and all they're looking for is support. You nailed it. It's an Almond project. It's not really an Alfred project. We're going to provide the service for them, but I think it'll help out if we can develop along 21 with sewer and water. We have the water there now, and if we can run the sewer from the plant all the way to the town line, I think it would help out eventually if we could develop along Route 21. But for us, it's for the village, it's sort of a service that we're providing, but there is no you cannot generate revenue from a wastewater line. So it's sort of a service.
Okay, well, Jan, if you'll just record in the minutes that we've gone on record in support of this, that should do it. Okay. Other thing I wanted to mention was Southern Tier West has a number of online webinars for board members and ZBA members and planning board members. And I think I forwarded that to everybody electronically. So I would encourage you to sign up for anything that interests you. The town will pay for it. I think it's $35 or something like that. So check that out and take advantage of anything that interests you. Next thing I have on my list is the becoming the lead agent for the seeker for the sidewalk project. So where this is right now is Clark Patterson engineers are going to do the seeker. We would be the lead agent. And then when that is done, DOT still has to approve it. I got an email, I think maybe Jim probably got a copy of that tonight too, that Clark Patterson is indicating that DOT is still working to approve the plan, working now on drainage, and I guess with the winter weather and the snow pile that's been down. But when DOT finishes, then what will happen from the town perspective is we're going to make a video with Clark Patterson to explain the project, sending a letter to all of the property owners along the sidewalk, briefly explaining the project and directing them to the video. Then we'll seek to get public input one more time. And at that point, when all that's put together, the town would be in a position to vote to support or reject the whole project. So that's where it stands at this point. They like to do the seeker in advance, and it doesn't commit us to anything at this point other than in name we're the lead agency. So what
We're
we,
the lead, we have to do this. seeker? We have to do it, or the engineering firm does it?
the engineering firm does it.
Okay.
Other comments on this?
They have any kind of timeline on that, Dan?
Couldn't get a timeline.
Okay.
I don't, Jim, do you have any more info on that?
Hold on. I got the same email you did today. And as far as we know, I think that's about it. I think we have to go through with the seeker. Once we get the seeker, it has to be approved through the county. And then it's in your hands as
Right.
to whether or not the project goes through or not.
Okay, so that's all we know.
Yeah.
Any other comments on this? Okay, I'd like to move a motion that we become the lead agency for the seeker. Is there a second?
Second that.
Matthew, second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's a done deal. I will tell them, and they can move forward with that. Thank you.
Now, Dan, there's a form here that you need to sign. for
I
that.
saw that, yeah.
Jason had a question or comment.
Yeah, I have a comment. I haven't copied the board on the emails that I've been sending to the village, the ESD, the senator and the congressman concerning this grant. But seeing how our project is in the town, I think it's something that does concern you all. We've had issues with the process of how this grant was originated since we learned about its award. And we've made those clear with the ESD that it wasn't very a public process. a little bit of our backstory. In 2019, we acquired about 1/3 of the Sugar Hill Industrial Park, including the unfinished building on the property. And this is about the same time that the grant was awarded. And just a little backstory, I'm gonna take a few minutes if you don't mind. We got a copy of the DRI proposal, which amazingly was denied to us by the village, even though it's a public document. Christelle found it online in about 5 minutes. And we saw that Sugar Hill was a section in and of itself of the DRI proposal. So we reached out to Brent Reynolds to see if the grant, possibility would convey to us, since we were purchasing a good chunk of the business park and the building. And Brent informed us that he knew nothing about the grant until he read about it in the paper. So we went through different aspects of the grant, and it seemed incredibly inflated. Some things are just wrong. And we had issues with it. And the state denied the DRI grant, and they awarded the Village of Alfred a smart growth grant in its place because it wasn't big enough for a DRI. At this time, the trustee at the village level in charge of the grant is Peter McLean. And we had a meeting with Peter McLean at the CACT office because David Godfried was one of the other authors of the grant, along with John Simmons, the head of the CACT. Just because, we had a little bit of a negative relationship discussing how that DRI grant was put together, because we reviewed all of the public minutes. Christelle and I attend almost every single village board meeting, and it was never mentioned at a village board meeting. It is nowhere in the village board minutes that were available online going back about 1.5 years. But as a switch to a smart growth, Peter was canvassing the village for projects, and we confirmed at the meeting at the CACT that everybody under the smart growth would be treated with the same brush. We'd be reimbursed 20% for building materials and labor. So we put our proposal in for the Sugar Hill project stage 1, which is pretty much just finishing the building. And we were awarded official village award, village paperwork. Here's your award letter. Congratulations. They awarded us $70,000 towards the stage 1, $350,000. We had told Peter as well that we were considering and wanting to put in a solar field to provide cost-effective and cheap, and green electric to the process we would be putting into the building. And in the email, he also committed to $60,600 and said that there would be additional funds available if other people didn't move forward with the project. Well, anybody in the private sector business world last year was, it was COVID. So a lot of our customers were down 50 to 80%, depending what industry they're in. And we service mostly the wire industry across America with machine components. And, but as 2020 came to a close, we started looking at what we were going to do for the upcoming year. And we reached out knowing the finances of the state, to see if the grant money was still available, so we could begin meeting with contractors to move forward on the budgeting for the Sugar Hill project. We didn't hear any response back. Another week passed, we didn't hear any response back. And then when we finally did hear back, we were told that our award was not valid. So even though we had a village letter congratulating us on getting an award, that's worthless. So we've been going back and forth with the ESD saying, how is this, the rules of the grant and everything. We were awarded by their administrator that they told us to work with. And they got back, the only time really they commented was 2 things: that there's a specific geographic area for the grant as outlined in the proposal. And there's specified uses of how the money can be used. And I responded to the head of ESD up in Buffalo, and our property is clearly in the target project area. It was a featured item of the DRI proposal. So clearly, geographically, it's eligible for the grant. Secondly, the smart growth is pretty much all for construction. And the only village reimbursement we've been told about was last summer when one applicant was awarded a reimbursement for equipment, which has nothing to do with a smart growth grant. So we've been going back and forth with them because this greatly affects our business planning. And because our current factory we're growing at a pretty good clip and we'll be out of power soon in our building. So that was another reason why we were looking forward to having 1200 amps of 480, because we use all electric kilns and dryers. And now we're in the predicament of, we don't even get a response from ESD. So now we're looking at challenging the entire grant, because when we go back of how the grant was generated, not a lot of the public was involved. We see no public notifications in the Alfred Sun or anything, which is part of the process. And I believe when I came down after the grant was awarded, I came down to the town office and I took a photo of the zoning map to see how our property was zoned and everything. And I got the impression, and when I brought up the meeting, that not a lot of the town board members were aware of this grant until it was awarded. I know, Mr. Acton, you said, like, I think it was last year sometime, that you had been part of it. But I don't believe any of the other board members had knowledge of the grant until it was awarded. So I was just curious if I could ask which of the board members knew about the grant proposal before it was publicly awarded.
I believe everybody was aware of that because I kept them apprised from the time I got on the grant committee. But they can
Which
speak
was
for
what,
themselves.
which date was this then?
I would have to go back and look.
Okay, because we haven't heard our deadline for ESD to respond to our questions was yesterday, and we haven't heard back from them. So basically we were looking at, it was $1 million project up on Sugar Hill. And this was going to be potentially 200,000 of the $1 million budget. And without this money, I can assure you, we will be doing nothing up there. And it really calls into question whether we even stay in this area of New York with our other factory, because we'll be out of power. We did a trip down south in December, and we can say the South is about 10 times more business friendly and a heck of a lot cheaper for overhead. So this is a very important project to us, and we can't believe the way we're getting stonewalled. The village seems very preferential, and they're awarding or which projects were assigned, and we don't get a response to, we were given an award and now that's worthless. So we're going to be, and even with the spending, we brought it up, like you just said about Clark Patterson making a video of what a sidewalk. We brought it up with the village board before they agreed to pay Clark Patterson $300,000 potentially to make renderings of what a sidewalk looks like, where I think we're all fairly intelligent enough to know what a sidewalk on the side of a road looks like. So we just wanted to let the town board know then that our project, which would have been a huge thing for the town, was awarded and is now denied with no clarification or reasoning of why it was denied.
Any comments for Jason? Okay, Jason, thanks for bringing that forward. The next thing I've got on my list is a couple items that require executive session. And Ian can tell us how people that are on now can get back in when we come out of executive session. You want to explain how that works, Ian?
Sure.
Hey, Dan.
Go ahead, Matthew.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Ian. Do we need to talk at all about the franchise thing before we go into executive session? Or is there any more that we need to plan about that?
That's a good point, Matthew. What is everybody's thinking about that?
I don't see any reason that we need to change it at this point. I mean, It's always nice when you find out there's an income option, but I don't think a town needs any more taxes right now.
Yeah, I think for the amount of income that we're talking about, it would be more of a sting for people to see that line item on
I agree.
on their bills than what we would gain in income.
Yeah, I think that's the way I'd come down on it too. Well, we could resolve to keep the franchise fee at 0 tonight. And then I guess we could have a public hearing on it just before next month's meeting, right, Jan? We could do it that way?
Or you could wait till April.
Okay, whichever. So is there a motion to keep the franchise fee at 0?
Yeah, so moved.
Second,
Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, opposed? Okay, and then we'll set up a public hearing before either the March or April meeting. Thanks, Matthew, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And Thean, how is this going to work so that people can get back on after the executive session?
Right. So what we'll do is I'll push everybody out to the waiting room, and if you want to hang around in the waiting room, then I will just have the ability to allow those folks back in once we've closed executive session. And
So if they're still on, then you'll let them, as long as they stay on, they can get back in.
Yep, and I don't think you have the ability to message the participants in the meeting room while you're in the waiting room. So you're sort of out there until we let you back in, which is the way it would be in the building too, I guess. So.
Right. Okay, if there's, at this point, I'd like to move that we go into executive session to talk about potential litigation and employee issues. Could I get a second to that?
I'll
Second.
second. Oh, go ahead, Wendy.
Thank you. Thank you, Wendy. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, we're now going into executive session and then we'll come back.
Give me just a minute to shuffle people out. See, Phil Daly.
Bill, can you stay? Can we ask Bill to stay?
Certainly.
Okay,
All right, let's see, I have, we're down to, okay. Resuming
Okay.
regular session.
we brought everybody back from the waiting room. Okay, so coming out of the executive session, I'm going to move a motion that we rescind the building permit for the NYSEG Tower. And we inform them that they have to submit a zoning permit, the building permit, an area variance, and that there's a related seeker involved. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that, Dan.
Thank you, Bill. Discussion?
Is the plan then to have the verbiage drawn up by Mike Finn and then signed and delivered by Steve?
That's what I'm thinking. I will contact Mike, tell him what we're intending to do, make sure we have his blessing, and then I believe it'll have to actually be issued by Steve.
Excellent. Thank you, Wendy and Dan, for all your research on that.
It's
And
been
Bill.
educational.
Okay, we had a second discussion. All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, is there anything else to come before the board tonight?
Do we need to,
Go
Matthew?
ahead, Matthew.
do we need to accept anything from Jan?
You need to decide about a credit card for the call center.
Yes.
Okay, so we need a resolution to do that?
Yeah, I'd want something in the minutes approving the town applying
Okay.
for credit card.
You wanna move so, Matthew?
Yeah, I move that we research and apply for a preferably locally bank-based credit card for the town.
Second that.
Second, okay.
Good. Discussion? All in favor,
Do we-
aye?
Just one question. Do we
Yes.
need to do that through one of our current banks by any guideline? I mean, obviously that'd be preferable, but
We only have one bank, so
okay. I didn't know if we had anything with Servview or not.
we can't, they're a credit union.
Okay. So with community,
I can contact Beth and find out what the best, I mean, other towns have credit cards, so there must be, a way to do it.
right.
Right, and we wanna have a limit on that too.
Yes.
Yeah.
We can talk about that.
And you'll want to say who's allowed to use it. You'll
Right.
probably have to have a credit card policy.
Right.
Okay. Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor, aye? Or did we already do
Aye.
opposed? Okay, that carries. Okay, wrapping it up. Jason, you had more to say?
I do actually. I just wanted to follow up with a comment. One of the reasons
Yes.
we brought up that question to the board is
Yes.
because we were told by a town board member directly to our faces that they knew nothing about the grant till after it was awarded.
Mm-hmm.
So we see little point to invest any money in this area. It's the village is worse, is bad enough. So we're just letting you all know we won't plan on investing any money in this area, and we'll decide if we keep it for hunting lands in a garage or if it'll be for sale shortly. I mean, there's lots of places we can invest large chunks of money. I think one of the things that kills this area is the dysfunctional incompetence that exists here in a pompous fashion in the village, highly pompous in the village. So we just let you know, we're very upfront and forthright people. We will plan on doing zero up there, and most likely it'll be for sale shortly. If you know of anybody interested that might be willing to invest in this area, but it's obviously no takers for many, many, many years. And as we see all the jobs leaving this area, we're kind of bullheaded and pigheaded to try to do something in the most unbusiness friendly environment possible. But it makes our decision easier.
Any comments for Jason?
I would comment on that just to say that, I mean, the board has actually changed somewhat just in the time frame that the grant has been in process. And either way, the grant was never initiated by the town. I'm very disappointed to hear how you guys are getting the short end of the stick on that. But the town didn't do anything to influence it in that direction for sure.
Any other comments on this topic? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Dan.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Go ahead, Fian.
We are adjourned. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Yeah, thanks all. Take care. Stay warm.
Yep.